Hello, everyone. This is Ed Breniger, and in this video, I'd like to share with you the guiding principles of the Circle of Impact. The Circle of Impact is a model of leadership which allows for people to decide that they want to be a person of impact, that they want to be a leader of impact, that they want to make a difference that matters in their home or in their community. It's really something that allows the individual to step forward and make a difference that matters. And the first guiding principle is the definition that I have crafted to explain what I see as the circle of impact way of being a leader. That definition is all leadership begins with personal initiative to create impact that makes a difference that matters. Now, for there to be personal initiative that creates impact, it really begins because we have something within us that says, I am interested in this, I am concerned about this, I believe in this, I care about this thing, this place, this person. And so I'm going to take initiative to make a difference in this place. So that's what this first guiding principle is. So if you live your life recognizing every day, I'm going to make my decisions based on what is the impact I want to make, then you're not going to be making decisions which really waste your time, waste your energy, or really never allow you to move towards reaching your potential as a person. So this first guiding principle is really important in terms of how we see ourselves and how we want to govern the way we live our lives. So the first principle is all leadership begins with personal initiative to create impact that makes a difference that matters. The second guiding principle is the hardest one for many people to accept. It is, we are all in transition. Every one of us, all the time. People resist change. People resist the thought that they must become something different or they must do things that are different. They must accommodate or they must adapt. But the reality is that if you take this mindset that we're all in transition, every one of us all the time, then we're looking for ways to make that change a place where I am making a difference that matters. So we're not looking at the change as something imposed upon us or something that happens to us that's of a negative sort. Rather, we're saying, okay, if we're going to be in the context of transition and context of change, then I want to make sure that when I am put in the position of changing, I am making decisions that help me be a person of impact. I think this is how we can take a purpose statement about who I want to be as a person and apply it in the context of the world, which is constantly changing and accelerating in change, and the rate of change and the range of change that we're experiencing is enormous. And so what I want to do is not become overwhelmed by that and run away and hide, but instead, okay, if this is what I must go through, then how can I make decisions which allow me to take personal initiative to create impact that makes a difference that matters? So we're taking the context of change and utilizing the way we can be, the way we can function as human beings, as persons of impact in the context of that change. Now, if we do this, and the third guiding principle is where we see this emerging. The third principle is the greatest change we go through, the greatest change we experience is in our self-understanding. And I think this is a really important guiding principle to know who you are. And to know who you are is a way of saying, this is what I want to be, or this is what I want to become, or this is what I want to do, or this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want my legacy to be. All those things are a projection of who you are out there into the world. And so the greatest change you'll experience is coming to recognize, oh, so this is who I am. And how beautiful that is when you can say, this is who I am and this is not who I am. When we can make distinctions And when we take charge of making those decisions ourselves, probably in consultation and in conversation with other people, but we're not simply conforming to whatever the expectations of the society are. And I think this is one of the traps that we find ourselves in, because so much of what we see in the digital realm is really telling us this is who you must be. You cannot be anything other than this. Well, I think many people feel very constrained by that, and they're not very happy about that. So here's a way of saying, okay, I'm going to go through a process of self-understanding, of learning who I am by taking personal initiative to create impact that makes a difference that matters. This is a way you can find yourself, who you are, and celebrate that. Hey, all right, this is really great. Now, we may think of this as something that's very individual, and at some level it is. But if it never goes beyond the individual, then it will never reach the full potential that we have. And so the fourth guiding principle is that leadership impact expands through our networks of relationships. So the key here is not just who am I and what kind of initiatives am I taking, but who is it that I'm in contact with? Who am I in relationship with? I think it's fairly clear that my practice has been for a very long time to ask the question of people, who do you know that you think I should know, and would you introduce me? This is the basis of the Eddie Network podcast. And if you go to the Eddie Network podcast, you can find it by Googling my name on YouTube. You'll find a playlist of all these people that I'm talking to for the very first time. I've never talked with them until they're actually on the screen with me having this conversation. They're my network of relationships. And all of those people I can go back to and say, so who do you know? I'm looking for someone, say, who's a surgeon, or I'm looking for someone who's a musician, or I'm looking for someone who has had experience in training animals. Do you know someone, and would you introduce me? Because these would be people who have an experience in life that I feel like has been missing from an episode of the podcast. So I'm going to use my network of relationships. And when I do that, I'm saying to them, you're very important to me because you know people. And I am asking you to use your own credibility with your own network to add to my credibility, because you're sharing your credibility with me by saying, Ed needs to know you, and you need to know Ed. And so leadership impact expands when we build our networks of relationships. And I would encourage you to build that by saying, who do you know that you think I should know, and would you introduce me? And then have that conversation to say, well, who are you, and what do you do? And maybe there's something for us to share together. Maybe there's an initiative, a personal initiative that together we can do can create an impact that we would not be able to create if we were not working together. So this is the fourth guiding principle, which is we need to do everything in the context of relationships, in the context of the networks, and it's really about building community. And as the institutional structures of the world that we live in fail more and more to be places of community and places of respect and places where we feel that our sense of being a person, the dignity of being a person, is no longer really supported, then this is how we build the social structure that we need to be persons of impact. But we're not doing it alone. We're doing it with others. So obviously, these guiding principles are about things that we're going to take action on. We're going to build relationships. We're going to be clear about who we are. We're going to say, this is what I want. This is what I don't want. And it's moving us forward into life. And that's exciting. And what I have discovered in the sharing of the circle of impact with people is that sometimes they get this idea, oh, I'm going to take personal initiative. I need to think big. I'm going to take on the whole world. I'm going to solve I'm going to solve this idea with my idea. Well, I think it doesn't really work that way. Big things don't start big. They start small. So the fifth guiding principle is really four different sections of a principle. It is start small. Whenever you have a sense of wanting to do something, wanting to achieve something, to create something that may have a lasting legacy, start small. Don't get beyond yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself. Start small so that you can learn what really is involved in this idea of starting this thing, of taking this initiative. The second thing is to make it local, to act local, to build an example of this where you have direct contact with the people who are benefiting from your idea. So we start small, we act locally, and think about acting locally as I'm going to have a direct relationship with the people that matter in this instance. These are not virtual relationships. These are direct relationships. The fourth piece of this is tell your story globally, share globally. This means you have a place that you start, you have a website, or maybe you have a Substack, or you have an Instagram, or you go on LinkedIn, someplace you are telling the story of the development of your idea and the development of your impact so that others may see that and they may want to join you in what you're doing, or they may want to take your idea and duplicate it or replicate it somewhere else, but they're going to do that because you are having an impact upon them because of the impact that you're having back in your local community. I know that many of the conversations that I have about the things that I've done in my life, I'm having with people overseas who I don't know, I don't have a direct relationship with, but when I have that conversation, I am able to set up a perception of the situation for them so that they can see how they can enter into that situation where they are and do the things that I did that have a direct impact upon the people where they live. So we start small, we act locally, we share globally, and then we take the long view. And the long view means that we don't get anxious, we don't get worried, we don't want to have quick results. We want to, and by starting small, that means that we're not investing too much too soon. We're going to allow this thing to develop. We're going to allow ourselves to learn what needs to actually happen. So these are 5 principles. I think if you were to kind of organize your life around these 5 principles, and I know other people have similar things, but if you were to organize your leadership life around these 5 principles, I think you would find that you would find some peace of mind. You'd find some place to make a difference. You'd have a greater sense of who I am or who you are. You'd have new relationships. You'd have new friendships. You have new collaborators. All these things would begin to happen for you because you initially took initiative to make a difference that matters. So the five guiding principles of the circle of impact are: all leadership begins with personal initiative to create impact. We're all in transition, every one of us, all the time. The greatest change we experience is in our self-understanding. Leadership impact expands through the networks of relationships. And when we start something, when we take initiative, let's start small, act locally, share globally, and take the long view. I hope this is helpful to you. You can find at my Substack, you can find stuff about the guiding principles. You just go to Substack, my Substack, and you find the search bar and just put in guiding principles, and you will find. And I believe there will be a link to that one of those articles in the YouTube show notes, and I'll put that also in the show notes for the Substack version of this edition. So thank you for watching, and I wish you well. And let's stay in touch. Let me know how you're guiding your life to becoming a person of impact who is a leader in the world that you live in. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.